Halloween decorations are up, and I'm super excited about it. That wasn't creepy at all. Hi guys, it's April, and I thought I'd give you a quick wrap up of what I ended up reading for this last round of Read-O-Rama. And though it was a short, simple readathon weekend, I ended up reading a total of 3 different books. Yes, I did manage to complete my TBR. Sometimes I'm amazed that I'm able to do that because I am just all over the place when it comes to what I decide to read. So with those 3 reads, I ended up reading 595 pages for the whole weekend and spending about 6 hours reading total. But beyond that, I had a whole bunch of fun seeing what you guys were reading, keeping up on everybody posting on social media, and then of course doing our live read-in. But that's enough about nothing. Let's get into the books I read. The first book I read on the first day was The World of Lore, Monstrous Creatures by R.A.M.A. This takes a whole bunch of historical references, historical sightings, and reference materials, and it just looks into all different kinds of monstrous creatures such as puka or vampires or werewolves or just undead beings. R.A.M.A. has such a brilliant style of first talking about creatures as we believe them in legend and myth and where they might have originated from. Then he takes historical references of when people might have cited these things. Sometimes he takes eyewitness accounts and he puts them in here as well. But then he just blends history and belief all together and leaves it up into interpretation. He does give a lot of scientific look into all of these different things as well. So that is why I really like all of the World of Lore series. This is the last book that I needed to read to complete the set, which is hilariously enough, this is supposedly book 1. Of course, it would be the book I finished last. But if you haven't picked up any of these, I highly recommend it. He also has a podcast, which I need to check out. And also there is a series on Amazon Prime that takes these stories. R.A.M.A. narrates it himself, and I absolutely adore it. Next, I picked up Lies, Knives, and Girls in Red Dresses by Koertge. This is written in verse, and it takes those well-known fairy tales and it looks at them a little bit differently. It's very much a cruder, darker version of these fairy tales, and a lot of times it's from a different perspective than what you're used to. This was not at all what I thought it was going to be going into it. I didn't think it was going to be this hard and this crude. There were times where I was completely uncomfortable on some of the things that were being suggested and implied. I didn't appreciate that aspect, but there were some stories in here that I absolutely loved the take of. There were some witty lines in here that just blew me away. So I fought with how I felt about this book. There are a lot of moments where I'm like, I don't really care for this. And then there were moments where like, I like the perspective of how we're looking at these fairy tales. This is interesting. I never really thought about it that way before. So if you do decide to pick this up, go in knowing that there are some very crude moments. And last but not least, I picked up Hauntings, True Stories of Unquiet Spirits by Roland. I read this because it's that time of year where I really enjoy those documentaries on TV that go and look at all of the most haunted places anywhere in the world, and it pulls in that history, and then it has a little bit of ghost investigation that sometimes goes on, and then it goes and talks to some eyewitnesses of some of these events. I always find that fascinating. This right here is dry compared to a lot of other books like this that I have read. It was kind of hard coming off of lore that has a lot of color and a lot of depth to it, and then going into this where it was just a lot of referencing and very just facts, and you would get some stories that were like 2 sentences, and I'm like, what is the point of that? The fun part about this one though is that it did include images. Some of them were related to the stories. Other of them that I didn't really care for were more of this artistic trying to be creepy, and I don't like when books or even documentaries go too far in that direction because I think it makes it just too cheesy and unrealistic, and you know what I mean? The believability starts to drop. So there is a lot of information in here. It is not my favorite book if you want to read these kind of stories. Once again, I will reference World of Lore, any of those books. You should check those ones out. This one was just So those are all the books that I read for Read-O-Rama. I did do a vlog of the whole weekend. If you want to go check that out, it has a lot more spoilers of what I thought of these reads. Otherwise, let me know down below if you participated, what you read, and if you have a ghost story, tell me. Tell me the story down below. I would love to hear it from you. If you want to see more content like this, subscribe down below, and I heart your beautiful faces. Bye.